Module 13, Chapter 13, Conflict and Stress. Interpersonal conflict is the process that occurs when one person, group, or organizational subunit frustrates the goal attainment of another. Often involves antagonistic attitudes and behaviors. Causes of organizational conflict: group identification and intergroup bias. Differences may be accentuated by real differences in power, opportunity, etc. Interdependence requires interaction to coordinate interests, implies power dependence to achieve goals. Causes of organizational conflict are caused by differences in power, status, and culture. Power dependence may not be mutual. Higher status worker may depend on lower status worker. Clash of subcultures or more than one main culture. Clash of cultures or more than one main culture. Causes of organizational conflict: ambiguity of goals, jurisdictions, or performance criteria. Scarce resources. Relationship conflict: interpersonal tensions among individuals that have to do with their relationship per se, not the task at hand. Task conflict: disagreements about the nature of the work to be done. Process conflict is the third type of conflict and is the disagreement about how work should be organized and accomplished. In types of conflicts, conflict dynamics often result in a need to win rather than resolve, concealing or distorting information, taking sides, stereotyping opposition, emergent conflict leaders on each side. Modes of managing conflict. Conflict management styles: avoiding, low assertiveness of one's own interests and low cooperation with the other party. Accommodating, cooperation with other party while not asserting one's own interests. Competing, maximizes assertiveness and minimizes cooperation. Conflict management styles: compromising. Compromising combines intermediate levels of assertiveness and cooperation, satisfying rather than maximizing. Collaborating maximizes both assertiveness and cooperation, ideally solves the issue and creates a win-win resolution. Here we see a graph indicating approaches to managing organizational conflict. We have on the y-axis, vertical axis, we have assertiveness, attempting to satisfy one's own concerns. Cooperativeness, attempting to satisfy the other's concerns. Here we have avoiding and competing is uncooperative, but avoiding is unassertive and uncooperative. Competing is uncooperative, but it is assertive. On the other hand, assertive, competing, assertive, collaborating. Just in the middle is compromise, where cooperativeness is at midway and assertiveness is middle way. So we understand assertiveness as the attempt to satisfy one's own concerns. In the side of cooperative side, accommodating and collaborating are the two sides. Negotiation techniques, negotiating a decision-making process among interdependent parties who do not share identical preferences. Negotiation attempts to reach a satisfactory exchange built on reciprocity, built on reciprocity. Distributive negotiation, a win-lose negotiation in which a fixed amount of assets is divided between parties. Threats only work for the party with more power, and promises, a pledge for future rewards, has merit for party with less power. Firmness versus concessions often results in a deadlock. Persuasion uses justifiable and fair tactic. Here we see a graph. Overview, review a range of negotiation techniques. Here we have on the vertical axis we have target party, party's target, party's resistance point, party's aspirational range, degree of satisfaction of the party's concerns, and others' aspiration range, others' resistance points, and others' target. The settlement range is here, where we have our target and the other's target range. And here we deal with a model of distributive negotiation. Integrative negotiation, win-win negotiation, that assumes that mutual problem solving can enlarge the assets to be divided between parties. People tend to prefer distributive negotiation tactics, win-lose. Integrative negotiation tactics require more creativity, copious information exchange, framing differences as opportunities, cutting especially the other party's costs, increasing resources, superordinate goals, attractive outcomes that can be achieved only by collaboration. Third-party involvement. Mediation. Mediation facilitates agreements when conflict is not too intense. Arbitration dictates settlement. In conventional arbitration, the arbitrator chooses outcome. In final offer arbitration, the arbitrator chooses one of the final offers presented by each party. Organizational conflict can also stimulate change. Conflict, and the sequence is conflict, change, adaptation, survival. Conflict stimulation, a strategy of increasing conflict to motivate change. Conflict stimulating conflict generates new ideas, makes it more difficult to hide errors and problems, may signal that a redistribution of power is necessary. When to stimulate conflict? If existence of friendly rot takes precedence over organizational goals. If groups withdraw rather than cooperate. If differences and controversy are ignored. Managers can manipulate causes of conflict to achieve change. Stressors are environmental events or conditions that have the potential to induce stress. Stress is a psychological reaction to the demands inherent in a stressor that has the potential to make a person feel tense or anxious. All people require some stimulation from their environment. Stress reactions are behavioral, psychological, and psychological consequences of stress. Can be very costly for organizations. Here we see a model of a stress episode where the stressor, here we have the personality and the stressor is here. We feel stress and we have stress reaction tied to personality. If there's anxiety reduction, we can come back to the stress situation. We revise our personality and we have stress reactions. Through direct confrontation, we come back to the stressor. Personality affects perceptions of stressfulness and individual reactions to stress. For example, locus of control, a set of beliefs about whether one's behavior is controlled mainly by internal or external forces. Internals are more likely to confront, deal with stressors. Type A behavior pattern, a personality pattern that includes aggressiveness, ambitiousness, competitiveness, hostility, impatience, and a sense of time urgency. Type A personalities are more likely to exhibit adverse physiological reaction in response to stress. Example, high blood pressure. Type A behavior pattern are more likely to exhibit adverse psychological reactions. No, not psychological, but physiological reactions like high blood pressure. Negative affectivity is the propensity to view the world, including oneself and other people, in a negative light. That's negative affectivity. Refer to the Big Five personality dimensions in Chapter 2. Executive and managerial stressors. For example, role overload, the requirement for too many tasks to be performed in too short a time period. Heavy responsibility, important consequences of decisions for both the organization and individuals.